Hey, welcome. This is Kelby Smith with HISAdvocates. This is the HISAdvocates TV show. We are creating a new channel brand called The Unrepresented with a couple buddies, Rodney Roseanne, a peace officer in Los Angeles, and Angelo, a serious law researcher. I've been, puzzled with that whole sovereign citizen movement mentality, and where I spend 25 hours trying to figure out how to fight a simple little ticket. For me, it's, I just call 1-800-tickets or whatever the number is and get the lawyers out there for $99 and don't spend my time on it. I got a 50-50 shot on beating the ticket. But what we're going to do today is we're going to expose from with Angelo and Rodney, an active peace officer, the elements of what to do and how to approach and how to handle something as simple as a red light camera ticket. So what I'm going to do is just welcome them on right away and get this conversation started. Rodney, Angelo, thank you guys for your time and welcome. Let me know, Rodney, I'm going to give you the floor on this one. This is kind of your wheelhouse, both you guys, and let me know when you want me to share that PDF, and I'll just follow your guys' lead. And as I, maybe have a question or two, I'll be chiming in. But go ahead.
Yes, how you doing? My name is Rodney Roseanne, and so I just want to take you guys through. Recently, I received what was entitled a traffic violation in the mail. Kelby, if you can take them to page 4 right here. Recently, I received this in the mail, and I want to take you guys pretty much through the steps of what occurred to me. It appears to be this Culver City Police Department who's sending me this document. So I want to take you through the steps and pretty much what happened to me, and then pretty much how we're handling this situation. Kelby, if you can take me over to page 4, this is pretty much what I received right here. So the first page, as you can see, it says in the upper left-hand corner, you can see it says it's from the Culver City Police Department, and then / care of Traffic Enforcement Office. And this comes from Phoenix, Arizona. So that's the first thing that I took a look at, and I found that kind of curious. I was kind of curious, if it's from Culver City, then why is it from Phoenix, Arizona as well? And then as I look at the next page, if you're not the driver, they want you to fill out what they call this affidavit of non-liability. And then I guess you're supposed to name somebody else. So that's the second page I received there as well.
You're supposed to narc off your spouse. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so whoever it would be. So that's what they want you to do. And then right here, pretty much, it's pretty much all the information is redacted, but that they pretty much had my information in there. And right here stating that it's a notice of a traffic violation. They have a notice to appear from an automated traffic enforcement. They have this D number on there, D609859. Go to the next page, Kelby. I'm sorry, the notice of traffic violation. That one right there. Okay. Then they have, so then they have various on the right hand side. There's 4 photos there, and then they have, a photo of a light-skinned bald male there. And, I'm not sure,
That guy's so ugly, man. He is so ugly.
So you see this here? Now, I'd like to even direct you right here to the declarant is Kyle Hennenberg. And so he issued this, and he issues this on 10/23/23. But they say the violation, if you look a little bit higher at the top of here, it says 8/19/2023 that it was actually issued, the date of violation, but he issues it on 10/23/23. Okay. As you look a little bit further down in here, now it gets, they have a certificate of mailing right down here at the bottom left. And it says there's an I, Tyler Sharp, and then it says of Red Flex Traffic Systems Incorporated. And he mails it from 5835 Uplander Way in Culver City. So now you have Uplander Way in Culver City mailing this, possibly Arizona mailing it. So this guy gives the proof of service. Then it comes from Arizona, and then Culver City PD has a totally different address. Okay. So you go to the next page, Kelby. Scroll down. That's just some standard information, basically. Right here where it says important, read carefully. It's talking about you can contact the Culver City PD to review the photo footage or whatever you need to do. And then we scroll down to the next page. And this is the real part that I saw right here. If you look under number 1, under the instructions page, and it says the reason you received this notice. And it says a vehicle registered in your name was photographed failing to stop for an official red traffic control signal or sign. Or the registered owner of the vehicle depicted on this citation has submitted an affidavit naming you as the driver of the vehicle at the time of the offense. And then the rest of it just goes on to tell you what vehicle code sections you were in violation of, which is 21.453A. And then the section 21.4.555.5 just talks about photo enforcement in the vehicle code. So that's pretty much what you receive right there. That's what you're going to get in the mail, possibly. The next page is in Spanish. That's pretty much what you receive. Now, and then they're saying that I owe $490 and you can pay right now and you can get rid of this. And then you also have to go to traffic school as well. So I don't know how much the traffic school will cost. And so this is pretty much where we're at. So what I did, I took a look at this. And then the first thing, I discussed some of this with Angelo because I wasn't 100% familiar how to hit it. But the first thing Angelo had mentioned to me, he was like, get a certified copy of what they're talking about. And he said, go directly back with, and I'll tell you where I even made the mistake. He said, go directly back with who mailed it to you, go back to Arizona and send it to them. But what I had done, I had already communicated via telephone with the Culver City Police Department, and I had a lieutenant over that section of the traffic enforcement. So what I did, went a little bit outside of what Angelo stated, but if you go to page 11, Kelby, bring that up. And this will be the first notice that I sent over. And this was October 30th, 2023. And in this letter, what I did was I asked basically for a certified copy of the traffic documents. So one of the first things that we do here is when anybody's sending you anything, you want, first of all, before you even talk about it, I want a certified copy of it. So until I can get a certified copy, we're not even going to the merits of it. We want a certified copy from the department. So I'll read this over real quick, briefly. And
well, let me break that down and the reasoning.
Oh, go ahead.
Why? So when you're dealing with any situation, you want to know who you're talking to, who has authority to communicate. Are they the agent? Are they the principal? Just who you're talking to. So the reason why what I looked at or was focused on about that document was that it was called a notice of violation, and then it was a notice to appear within on that document. But the first thing is a notice of violation. Then it claims to be from a municipality, in this case Culver City, but there's no letterhead, there's no signature from the clerk. Like when you get summons or stuff, or real summons, there's or any kind of court document has to be, there's a seal on it. So none of that is here. So that gets me wondering, why is it missing? Why is a demand for payment being requested or being told, or you being instructed to deliver it out of the jurisdiction that, really a foreign jurisdiction, it's a whole nother state. And so what I need to do is, or what I like to do is get some accountability, by asking about who am I talking to? So that's the reason for the request for a certified, and it was supposed to be authenticated document, because certification just goes to the document itself. Authentication goes to the content. So you want somebody who's married to the content, who knows what they're talking about, so that you can have some accountability if you find something to be wrong later on. So that's the first thing. So that's the reason why you want to pin people, like pin everybody down to something. I heard a long time ago this phrase that I like saying and reminding myself, but sacrifice is the measure of all credibility. So when you're signing on the penalty of perjury and you're signing, you're making a sacrifice. You're putting yourself at risk. So if whoever's making demands for payments are not willing to put themselves at risk, then I have to question whether or not the debt is legitimate or something that I owe, or what exactly they know. So that's the purpose for that.
Okay. And okay, so like what Angelo just told you guys right there. So, and especially he says certified and authenticated copy. So, and it's just me, like, even being, even as long as I've been at this, you still look at it and I'm missing certain things. So I'm gonna show you how what I stated in my letter and then what happened by me missing that one piece. Okay, because like just listen to what he says, certified and authenticated. And I missed the authenticated part. So every single part you got to zero in on it. And so when I sent her this letter, the title of it was Request for Certified Copy of Notice of Traffic Violation Documents. Okay. So I wrote here, I wrote it to Lieutenant Eden Robertson. She's the lieutenant over their traffic section at the Culver City Police Department. And I also sent it back. Now, remember what he was saying. I was only supposed to send it back to Arizona. I should never even included the lieutenant, but I did anyway. So that was I can show you that's a mistake that I probably should never even did in the first place.
Well, actually, let me jump in. Actually, it should be to the person who mailed it. So that was a certificate of mailing. So it was that guy from the company, Redflex.
The Redflex.
So the demand for payment was to Arizona, but the document came from California, and this guy Tyler. So
yeah, Kelby, go back to that page then, so they can see that. Let's go back to page 6 of 89. Okay, so if you look at the lower left, that certificate of mailing, and there's a guy named Tyler Sharp. Okay.
Right. So my question is he a government employee? Does he have the oath of allegiance? The oath of allegiance is only the significance is not
certificate of mailing too, right? I mean, that's not an oath on the ticket.
Say that again.
He's only doing an oath that he did a certificate of mailing. He's not the guy attesting to the ticket.
Well, if it's a photo radar, where's the photo coming from? It's coming from that company. So he's saying it's issued from that company.
Gotcha.
He mailed the notice of violation, right? So that's why you're asking that question. And with him, because he's mailing that, he's supposedly mailing a legal document. So what's his authority? That's why I want to know if he has an oath of allegiance. It's only significant as to what kind of powers or authority that he has to do that. In government, everybody has to have authority to do what they're doing. There's nothing that's allowed that isn't written, and promulgated by the legislature or the county, the governing body, and then that has a certain way it has to be done. So everything is procedural, and if you start testing the procedures, like when I say testing, I mean looking at them and then comparing them to what's done. A lot of times you'll find that it's nowhere near what's supposed to be done. So that's why we want to know who's who, so that we can start asking questions, and getting to the bottom of resolving whether I'm going to have to pay or I'm not going to pay, or is this some type of fraud or whatever. So with this one, this is a company, Redflex, sending a document saying it's a notice of violation. And then you look at the second page, the next page of that one, from that one, it's talking about bail, right? Bail is in criminal matters. So I don't know. I don't have certainty as to what this particular document is and what the nature of the document is, what's going on. So that's why you have to ask the questions. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah,
that's how I would look at that and break that down and start working backwards. So the first one is with the guy who mailed it. Who are you? You did send this, right? This is your declaration or your certificate of mailing, and what exactly is your relationship to this document? And then we go from there.
Exactly.
Gotcha. What
Okay.
page, Rodney?
Okay, go back to and see, Angela's on point. So see, I'm gonna show you where I went a little bit off point on that, right? So okay, let's go back to, let me see what page. Let's go back to 11 of 89, right? So if you listen to what Angela's saying, it should have really been back at Redflix, right? And I should have went back to Tyler, but I didn't. And this is the path that I went, and then I'm gonna show you how it went, right? So what I did was on October 30th, I sent this over to the lieutenant. I sent it via mail. You look to I sent it via mail back to the mailbox in Arizona and the email for the lieutenant. And I say in here, okay, let's read it over real quick. Dear Sir or Madam, I recently received a set of documents entitled Notice of Traffic Violation, allegedly from Culver City Police Department. These documents, which total 6 pages, were not on any department letterhead, prompting concerns about their authenticity. Considering the serious nature and potential legal implications of such notices, it is imperative to confirm their legitimacy. Consequently, I am making the following requests, and I ask for a certified copy of the notice of traffic violation I received under the hand and seal of the Culver City Police Department or its authorized representative. Number 2, clarification regarding the absence of the department's official letterhead on the original department's received and the insight into the connection between the Culver City Police Department and Phoenix, Arizona mailing address. Okay, and then for reference, I put everything attached, and you guys can read over that. So that was my request that went over to them. Now, the lieutenant, I remember she responded pretty much the next day. And if we go down to, let's see, go down to page, okay, let's go down to, let's see, take you to the next page. Let me see the lieutenant's response. Thank you for your email. Okay, give me 1 second here. Okay, all right, go down to page 21, Kelby. Okay. So you go down to page 21. Oh, cancel this. All right, all right. Oh, man.
Yeah, we're here.
All right. Let me see my little thing jammed up. Let me pull it up on my other one. My iPad jammed up on me.
Yeah, you're right, Rodney.
So what we have, okay, so on October 31st, at 2023, so Lieutenant Eden responded to that email, and she says, it was kind of interesting. Okay, so look at what she said to me. She says, "Good morning, Mr. Rouzan. Thank you for your inquiry regarding the validity of the automated enforcement citation. Yes, the citation is legitimate, issued by analyst Hennenberg. Okay, I have attached a copy of the citation issued," and she gives the number. "Please accept this copy as a certified copy and this email as a declaration as the custodian of records for the Culver City Police Department." And then she says, "In regard to your concern of Phoenix, Arizona, address listed on the citation paperwork, that address is for our vendor, Redflex Vera Mobility. Redflex Vera Mobility is contracted by the Culver City to process return citation mailings by the United States Postal Service, as well as affidavits of non-liability completed by a party named on the citation." And she says that she hopes this clarifies my concerns. So I like a couple things that she says right there, and Angelo, jump in when you need, but she talks about the certified copy, and please accept this as a certified copy. Right. And then I'm going to show you what she provided as the certified copy. So if you go to page 24, Kelby, right? So all she does is provide, I guess these are a little bit cleaner than the ones I had, right? She provides the same thing that, you see how it looks a little cleaner than my scanned copies? So she provides the same exact thing. It talks about provide this as a certified, or accept this as a certified copy. So Angela, if you could break that down on what your take is on the certified copy, or her asking you to accept it as a certified copy.
So that language, right? Like, this is what I found that this is the legal game is about words, right? Or the legal system is about words and their meanings, right? So I try to be very particular about understanding what's being said and who's saying it and where they're getting what they're saying from. So she says, please accept this. That's, to me, that's an offer. Accept this, accept this uh as that's another thing. As is not the same, as being, the original. So that jumped out at me. Okay, so no, I'm not going to accept that uh as certified copy, because I've seen certified copies before, and that's not it. It's under, it's under some type of penalty of perjury or a statement under the authority of, the principal or the governing body, and then that certification. I don't know, maybe a few people have seen, anybody has houses or whatever have gotten certified documents from the county or from the court. They stamp it. This is certified to be a true and correct copy, yada yada yada. So right there, that's a problem to me. That's something to focus on, and I need that clarified before I can move forward. When we're talking about, I think I mentioned, in the first introduction, when we first spoke with you, Kelby, we were talking about bringing court to the street, right? So when you're in court, when the first thing that's filed is the complaint, right? When the defendant gets that complaint, if there are any objections to it, they're checked. That the first objection usually is done by a motion to dismiss, or out here in California, a demur, right?
Yeah.
And if you look at the codes, right, it says objections to a complaint. So it can be for uncertainty, unintelligibility, failure to state facts constituting a cause of action, something like that, right? So those things have meaning. So I'll pull from those things to make my to raise my questions when I'm not in court, and it has the same effect. You're just not using the formality and maybe the verbiage that you do in court. So that's the purpose, that we look at these things. So basically, there was objections to this document. There was objections to the response. No, I'm not going to accept that. I don't think it's sufficient. Do better. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like that. So same thing when you asking for information in formal court settings, that's discovery, right? You got requests for production of documents, you have interrogatories, and you have requests for admissions. Now, we don't really need requests for admissions in here, but definitely requests for production of documents and interrogatories, which just means questions. Those are two vital procedures or things that could be done to get that information. So because in American law, there's a requirement for due process for all government employees or government acts. These questions have to be responded to sufficiently and in good faith, and that's what I like to try to focus on when it comes to the any writings and stuff. And most of this is going to be writings, because they can't do anything unless it's written or authorized. It has to be, otherwise it's considered arbitrary and capricious, because it's not based on any authority, right? So we want to see what authority they have, and where's it come from, and how does it apply to me. So that's the reason, that's how this worked out.
Step one. Yep.
Right.
Yeah. And okay, so from here now, okay, so now I realize now this is Monday night quarterbacking, but I went past and I should have nailed her in right there on the the certified documents, but I didn't, and I went ahead and accepted it. And then Kelby, if you were to go over to page let me see, this one is going to be page, okay, it looks like page 31. Okay. So just realize that again, I should have stopped right there and hit her up on the certification, but I didn't, and I moved forward, and then we're going to recover later. But this is so what I did. I go to Lieutenant Robertson next, and you see on October 31st, I respond back to her, and one of the things that I knew that they probably didn't have is any. First of all, I'm not the registered owner of that vehicle that they're sending me a citation for. So the next thing it says in the citation is okay. Let me go to it. Kelby, let's go to 38 of 89. Okay. So what I did, I sent another request. I take the documents that the lieutenant gives me. And I said, well, based on your documents, and I put this red box around it, right? And I said, it says the reason you received this notice, it says a vehicle registered near your name was photographed failing to stop for an official red traffic control signal or sign, or the registered owner of the vehicle depicted on the citation has submitted an affidavit naming you as a driver of the vehicle at the time of the offense. So they got to have one or the other, right? So if you don't have one or the other, then, well, that's what they would have. That's the reason, right? So then I looked at this and I says, okay, now, Kelby, let's go right back to page 31. Okay. And I go to the Lieutenant Robertson and I ask her, I said, to further understand and resolve the situation, I kindly request the following clarifications. One, the basis for determination. On what specific determination or evidence did the Culver City Police Department rely to determine that I am the registered owner associated with the traffic citation, that traffic citation? So I know I'm not the registered owner. Okay. Number two, I want the affidavit of non-liability. If the citation was issued to me based on an affidavit from the registered owner of the vehicle, could you kindly provide me a copy of the said affidavit for verification? So, okay. And then I wanted also the department policies and procedures. So that was a request I put out. So then I put that out on December 31st. And then the lieutenant, she responds pretty quickly, I remember. And we're going to go down to page 41. Okay. So then on page 41, this is the response from the lieutenant. And now she's not directly answering my question. Now, number one, she says, basis for determination. You are not listed as the registered owner of the citation. However, the Culver City Police Department has legal authorization to access Department of Motor Vehicle records for the purposes of traffic and criminal enforcement. Now, that's something I didn't ask. And she's just telling me that, but that's really interesting on why she included that. Okay. Number two, affidavit of non-liability. I will work on obtaining a copy of the affidavit that was completed, naming you are the alleged driver. And then she says, from what I am told by the analyst in our automated traffic enforcement section, the registered owner called stating that she did not know the driver and it was not her. Our analysts used public records to conduct a search for identity of the driver, ultimately naming you. During this process, your driver's license photo was used in comparison to the driver depicted on the citation. Okay, so look at that right there. She still, all I asked for was the affidavit that named me. And she's saying all this other stuff.
Just telling them.
So right here, right? So in court, you know, the objection, let's say she's on the stand, you're asking her questions, you're examining her. Then you ask those questions. She's doing all answering everything but. So the objection here is non-responsive. You didn't answer the question, so you don't pick up where she led you to, or whoever leads you to. You go back to the original question. Now, what's interesting too about this, right? I discovered, or I learned a while back that the legal system, if you read the case law and stuff, and you understand about the science of logic. Everything is based around that science, logic. You know, and logic is the science of reasoning, where how you're able to determine if statements or representations are valid or invalid or false or true, you know, factual. So when they respond like with these types of things, sometimes you'll get an insult. Are you one of those sovereigns, you know, or whatever they say? That's defamatory, right? And they also, in logic, they're called logical fallacies. So if you see what the fallacies are, a lot of times they'll fall within the same, you know, a certain sphere or a certain set of fallacies, but it's a fallacy nonetheless. So we first want to break that night. Okay, wait a minute, I didn't ask you that. So I need to go back to the original question. But okay, Rodney, I just want to break that down.
Oh man, yeah. He's 100% right on point. So yeah, just look at the way she dodged the question. So let me get right back to that. Okay, so it's the way she. Okay, Kelby, what page was you on? I'm sorry. Let's go.
We can go back to 31, which is what you requested, and 41 is what she had responded with.
Right, I want to get back to her 41. There we go. Okay. So, all right, that was pretty much the basis of what she responded. Like she's off point, and then she did provide the department's policies and procedures a photo enforcement manual. One thing that I wanted to take you guys to in there was in the photo enforcement. Let me see if I can find that exact page. Let me see.
While you finding that, Kelby, a lot of times too, what I find is very helpful is most of all the municipalities and agencies, they have manuals and operating guides. You know what I mean? So, or handbooks. They have manuals and handbooks. So if you request those things, it's all public record, and then you get to pull out the information that you need and see how it's applicable to your situation. So also in the administrative realm, your discovery tools are the public records requests. That's what's also so beautiful about it, because let's say with this one, right, Rodney didn't use a public records request to ask for the information. So if she responded trying to be evasive, and that's what I thought about her response, then I would do my next response under the Public Records Act and make a request through there. And then that way they can't really legitimately evade the question or not respond at all, because both of them would be a violation. And well, one will be a violation by them not responding, and then you have a section, at least in California, there's a section or provision in the Public Records Act that says that the requested party, the party is being requested to, or that's receiving the request, they have to assist the requester in finding the information that they're looking for. That's a duty. You see what I'm saying? So you can muscle them with the Public Records Act and also force their hand.
Yep.
Nice.
And then later on, you'll see that I did do a few public records requests, so that did get a couple of responses for it, and you'll see it like in play. One of the next points like that I just found, like, in here she gives her guide up, right? Under number 3, Kelby, you see she gives the guide up. Now, if you go down to page, this is something interesting that I saw. Go down to page 48. Okay, now it's under section 14. Okay, now what I saw under there, and what I specifically saw, is failure to appear on a photo enforced citation will result in a civil sanction, e.g. referral to collection agency or any other sanction authorized by the Superior Court. So I was wondering why I would be going over to a collection agency, and if this was supposed to be through with the court. That would be a question that I have, right? So I was very curious about that. And then another thing, and another thing I like to touch on too, like in the previous document where they were talking about they use the DMV system to locate me. Well, like, I know that we only have, when we're at work, we only have certain authorization to look inside. They call it CLETS in the DMV system to search for people or to verify what's going on. So if we don't have an actual crime occurring or something occurring right there at the time, and maybe we're detaining somebody, we can't how do you say it, go into that system. So now when they state that I'm not the registered owner, but then they track me down by utilizing the system, it looks like maybe even 2 months later to utilize it, I will start to even question that. And then as we're going to get a little bit deeper here, even the person that shows as issuing that citation, he's not even law enforcement. So when he's just the admin clerk, because I did do some public records requests, he's an admin clerk for the city. So what is he even doing, if he did, assessing CLETs or even looking for DMV information. So
Right.
those are a couple of just inconsistencies that I've already seen that's going on. You know, I got addresses all over the place. Nothing's even making sense here.
Let me jump in right quick on that. So with that, the CLET system, right? Now I know for sure that they have to have probable cause to run it. Even DMV employees, even though they're not law enforcement, there must be would have to be authorized. So when they're in the performance of their duties, they have it, but they can't just arbitrarily run it because you have to have probable cause in that situation. So with this situation, with a search, if they run a search, what do you need for a search? What does government need or government employees need?
Warrant.
There you go.
There you
So
go.
they conducted a warrantless search. That's a problem. So now I gotta ask, okay, will you have a warrant? Because you just admitted you did a search. You know what I mean? You didn't know who I was or where, anything about me, but this is how you located information. And these are government employees, which is another reason why it's important to know. Let's say with Tyler, is he law enforcement? Because now he's doing. You got that could be possible illegal activity, which they'll be liable for. Everything's liability. I hear sometimes some people say, you're gonna get in trouble. When you're an adult, it's not about being in trouble. It's either liability or non-liability. Period. So who's liable for the acts that's being done? That's the question. But yeah, so that's what we looked at, and I thought was interesting was the admission that they did a search without a warrant.
Yep.
And they put that in writing right there.
Yeah,
She
right there out in the open.
She put it right there, yeah, it's right there. so it's kind of like it's like you're creating a web around them almost, So then what we'll do, Kelby, we'll take you here now. So what I'll show you, like even when we go into the warrant. So let's go to page 55. Okay, so then here's my follow-up on the same day, Halloween, right? So October 31st, now I respond back to the lieutenant. This is in response to what she requested, or in response to her email response. And then I asked for, okay, well, let's read over this real quick. Okay, so thank you for your prompt response dated October 31st, 2023. After thoroughly reviewing the information and documents you provided, I have several points requiring further clarification and some additional documentation. Number one, the citation. In your email communication dated October 31st, 2023 at 9:54 a.m., you referenced a certified copy of a citation. However, no such citation was included in the attachments or the body of your correspondence. I hereby request a true copy of the cited citation for my review. We'll go into that. 2, certification of the document. Further, the affirmation point, the document provided, which you represented as certified copy, does not appear to carry the marks or indications typically associated with certified documents. I request a genuinely certified and authenticated copy of the affirmation citation, subscribed under the hand and seal of the principal. Number 3, so we went in here and asked for the search warrant. You indicated that a search was conducted utilizing public records to determine the identity of the driver. As this was a search conducted by a law enforcement agency, I would appreciate a copy of the corresponding warrant that authorized this search. If required, please treat this as a formal public records request. Okay. First-hand knowledge. Number 4. I would like to know if you personally, I would like to know if you personally have first-hand knowledge of the representations made in your communications. If not, please provide the name and contact information of the individual that does. Number 5, affidavit from the registered owner. I am specifically seeking the affidavit from the registered owner of the vehicle that names me as the driver, which I don't think they got, right? This is not to be confused with an affidavit of non-deniability you mentioned. Kindly treat this as a request under the Public Records Act. So there we go. Appointment as custodian of records. Due to concerns regarding apparent discrepancies and misrepresentations in the provided documentation and information, I would appreciate it if you could share a copy of your official appointment as the custodian of records for Culver City Police Department, subscribed under the hand and seal of the principal, right? So she responds pretty quickly to this one, and it was kind of interesting.
What
And
page?
now This would be page 58. And now I think she was a little bit, perturbed or upset, I would say. So this is what I see as law enforcement.
Rodney, you're making her type. I mean, she's got to type now. She's got to figure stuff out instead of. But
this is why I see like a contempt of cop, and I've seen this in last 23 years, right? So when we don't have the answer, the offense line, take it to the judge. Take it to the judge. You don't like what I'm telling you, take it to the judge, even though we stand there violating your rights as we speak, right? So this is her, take it to the judge, Rodney. Get out of my face and take it to the judge, right? So she says, good afternoon. Thank you. Or she says, the appropriate venue to address your concerns regarding the legality of your citation is in court at the Los Angeles Superior Court Santa Monica Courthouse. As for the remainder of clarification of your points, if treated as a public records request. And she says, the copy of the citation sent to you via mail and the PDF copy provided in the initial response are deemed certified copies, as they were sent on behalf of the Culver City Police Department. So, okay.
Define certified again. Define certified again, Angelo, because people, I think, really need to understand this point.
We're going to get into that, but go ahead. We're going to get into that, but go ahead, Angelo.
What'd you say, Kelby?
Just define certified. I don't think people really understand the importance of it.
Certify is to deem or to declare something certain. You know, when we do acknowledgments with notary publics, even witnesses, right? They're witnessing that you are the person certain who signed the document, who was getting this service done or whatever. So she just said, which is also interesting, it was sent on behalf of the Culver City, so it didn't even come from them. You see what I'm saying? So you get to talking to somebody who has no personal knowledge of what they're talking about, and then she flexed on you, saying, you know, this ain't the place for that. You go do what you do this in the court, right? Now, when they do stuff like that, we're going back to logic and you know, basically that's gaslighting and being dismissive, and it's also violating the ethical rules and due process for the right to be meaningfully heard, right? There's a right to be heard meaningfully, because most would attribute that to the judicial officers, but that's basically what they're acting in an administrative capacity as an administrative law judge. When you go to court, that's basically like an appeal from whatever decision they made, and then you go to court and they'll review it de novo from the start, right? But you can't move until you get information, and they can't just ignore you like that, especially when it's relevant. You know what I mean? So by her doing that, I call it recasting. When they recast what you're doing, that's also a form of fallacy and abuse. It's mental abuse. So you got to call it out. You do the objection, right? But it's these things that you have to be on and aware of, and don't just think that it can be gotten away with, because that's misconduct. You know, they have ethical rules, they have conduct rules, and we're talked to as if we have to we have to be mindful of the morality side of things. Oh, well, I better do what I'm supposed to do. But that's not how this system works over here. So, for example, in the interrogatories, this is 17.1, right? For the form interrogatories, the relevant portions B, C, and D. State all facts upon which you base your response. State the names, addresses, and telephone numbers of all persons who have knowledge of those facts, and identify all documents and other tangible things that support your response, and state the name, address, and telephone number of the person who has each document or thing. See what I'm saying? So you're entitled to that. So I'll use that outside of court, just because I'm entitled to know what it is that you're talking about, especially when you're sending me documents that appear to be counterfeit, right, or some forgeries or something. Certify that it is what it is, and not telling me accept it as something that is not, and then we can move to the next step. So until you get there, I don't want to hear anything else, because it's going to result in a complaint, or should result in a complaint against that person, because now they make it, that's like extortion.
And this is the point where everybody gets stuck right here. They get flexed on. It's a court date now. This is the point.
Right. So the thing is that's why I ask for all of this information. And when I give notices, right, that's where I say you support your notice with a declaration, because now you're putting weight to that notice, and it creates a duty on them to either deny or let it go. But they have to do it by their own counter declaration. Otherwise, that's when you hear the saying, what's that saying with
your silence is your acquiescence, maybe something like that.
Unrebutted affidavit stands as true.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. An unrebutted declaration stands as truth, because they're not controverting what you're saying. You know what I mean? So you want, and that's another thing in discovery, is the person most knowledgeable or the person most qualified, PMQ or PMK. I need to know who has personal knowledge of this. She's already admitted to. I was told. That was hearsay, right? So did you do any personal verification? Like, did you go check it out? If this person is not law enforcement or a peace officer, what did you do to go make sure that this was correct, especially if it's talking about bail and criminal procedure?
There you
know
go.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the point of asking for that, because now you're pinning them down on their actions that you can hold them liable for later if you need to.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Okay. What page, Rod?
We're back. We're still on the same page, because I want to point out on page 58. Okay. So when you go into it, okay, so she talks about, the certified copy in number one. The certified, number two, certified copy of the record does not necessarily require a mark or indication. My initial email serves as a declaration of the custodian of record as previously stated. I mean, like, get out of here with that.
Serves as, but it's not though.
Exactly. So it's not a declaration. So so think what she's saying right there. Okay. Number three, public records are accessible without the requirement of a search warrant. As such, there is no responsive documents. Okay. Then she says, okay, and number four, if you would like to speak to the analyst who issued the citation, please give him a call. And then number five is the important part. Number five, if you remember, Kelby, was the question, let me have the affidavit from the registered owner. Remember, I'm not the registered owner, but it says either you're the registered owner or the registered owner identified you. Okay, so she says she has no records. So now we got her lying. Okay, and then as far as there are no responsive records in number six, that's regarding just her appointment as the records custodian. So she doesn't have any records regarding that neither.
So two lies.
So that we got two lies. Okay. So now I was going around with this, and then I was like, okay, let's tighten her up. And now I got to draw all this back in together. Right. So if we go down to page 61. Okay. Now, when we get down to 61, I think it's important that, okay, so when Angela was just talking about, we put it forward our objection and we put forward our declaration. And since this point, we've had crickets. Okay. So, so now she doesn't want to respond to us. Okay. It's been over 8 days now. Okay. So let's read this over so we can see it. Okay. So on October 31st, 2023, it's entitled A Notice of Objection to Misrepresentation Made by Lieutenant Eden Robertson and Supporting Declaration of Rodney Rouzan. Dear Lieutenant Robertson, several misrepresentations of yours have been identified, leading to concerns of potential falsification of official records and raises questions about misconduct and conduct unbecoming of a police officer. And on those bases, I hereby give notice of my objections, specifically, number one, legality of the purported citation. At no point have I expressed any concerns regarding the legality of the purported citation. I have been solely seeking clarification and information regarding its origin and authenticity because, among other reasons, the documents purports to originate from the Culver City Police Department. However, is not under the seal or letterhead of the city and makes demands to a foreign jurisdiction. Yet you mischaracterize my inquiries as addressing the legality of the citation. Your mischaracterization is a misrepresentation of my intentions and queries in this matter is dishonest, improper, and misleading. Affidavit misrepresentation. You initially indicated the existence of an affidavit of non-bindability from the registered owner naming me as the driver of the vehicle. However, in subsequent communication, you disclosed that no such records exist. This is a clear contradiction. It suggests either a misrepresentation or a falsification of the record and is dishonest. Misrepresentation of a certified copy. You presented documentation which you asked that I please accept your correspondence and a unendorsed copy of a purported citation as a certified copy. Under California law, a certified copy typically signifies a copy of a document that has been officially verified as true and accurate reproduction of the original by a government authority or a notary public. The documents I received do not appear to meet the recognized criteria of a certified true and correct copy of the document you provided. This is dishonest. Purported citation absence. Despite repeated references to a citation, the document you provided to me do not include an actual citation. Your representation of the presence of the citation and subsequent absence of such in your documents is yet another instance of misrepresentation or falsification of the record. Your actions as described above are clearly indicative of misconduct and conduct unbecoming of a police officer. In light of this, I insist on clear, factual, and transparent communication, along with accurate documentation concerning this matter. Misrepresentations and potential falsifications undermine the trust and hinder my ability to appropriately address the purported citation. If you dispute any of the statements made within this letter and the supporting declaration, please provide notice of your dispute and counter declaration of what you say are the true facts within 5 days of delivery of this letter. Your notice must be specific as to the statements disputed. If you fail or refuse to make a dispute on or before the time allotted, you acknowledge and agree that I may rely on your failure or refusal to act on your reliance to the benefit and belief that you have no dispute. Rodney Rouzan. Now, we also put a declaration. So when Angela's talking about putting the facts with it, now here's the facts. Here's a sworn statement by myself. Okay. So I, Rodney Rouzan, declare as follows. I am over the age of 18 and a resident of the county of Los Angeles, state of California. I have personal knowledge of the facts stated herein, and if called as a witness, I could and would testify competently to the truth of the facts stated herein. I am the declarant in this matter concerning communications and documents received from Lieutenant Eden Robertson of the Culver City Police Department. On several occasions, I communicated with Lieutenant Robertson seeking clarification and authentication of the purported traffic citation and associated processing documents. Throughout our communications, I did not express any concerns about the legality of the purported citation for which my correspondent sought information about. My primary intention at this point was to understand its origin and authenticity and seek transparent information about it. Lieutenant Robertson initially indicated to me the existence of an affidavit of non-liability from the registered owner of a vehicle that purportedly named me as a driver. However, in subsequent communications, she indicated no such records exist. This contradiction raises serious concerns about the integrity and accuracy of the information being conveyed. I was provided with documents that Lieutenant Robertson represented as certified copy of the citation. However, upon examination and based on my understanding of certifications of the official records of the public officials, the documents were not certified to be true and correct copies of the records I requested. Despite multiple references to the citation in our communications, the documents provided to me by Lieutenant Robertson do not include an actual citation. This discrepancy further adds to my concerns about the potential misrepresentation or falsifications of official records. I have taken all the steps and made these communications in good faith, seeking clarity and understanding and due process concerning the purported citation and associated matters. I declare under penalty of perjuries under the laws of the state of California, the foregoing is true and correct and executed on October 31st. So,
Yeah,
Kelvin, go ahead.
Don't affidavits generally have to come with date and time specific to the incident that you're making a factual statement on?
This is a declaration. It's a declaration. You're saying an affidavit Are you mean my declaration?
In essence, a declaration is done in the same format as an affidavit. So wouldn't you want to do the dates and times associated to these statements? Like when you received something from them, at what time, and what it was, and how it's not true and correct certified copy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would, you know, with this what do you call it? The series of events that happen here, you're not wrong at all. But in this series of events, then you can safely presume that this is what it's talking about, because it's in response to something that she did. Like you can link the two together, the two documents. But yeah, it would probably be better to do that, because it's, you know, as I always say, it's an accounting. So you're keeping a receipt, you know, of everything. But yeah, you're right.
Such and such date, such and such time.
But he has a series. So like when this is done, right, the process is the notice. It's three parts. So you got the notice, the declaration of support of the notice, and if they never respond, you have a certificate, right? A certificate of non-response. And in that certificate, that is what will be repeated, and you will have, you know, you can link all of them together, because you'll include the previous documentation with that certification.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. So which and what he's talking about right there, Kelby. So you can go down to, let's see what page. I just had it. Oh, okay. Notice I sent her. Yeah. Okay. So go down to page 66. And then you're going to see, so that's what he's talking about, the notice of non-response and opportunity to cure. So on November 7th, a notice of non-response and opportunity to cure was sent to her. And then you see I gave her another opportunity to respond. And then that certificate on Friday, November 10th, 2023 will be going out, and then she'll have her certificate. But as we're not at November 10th yet.
So when people are stumped, you basically are doing interrogatories or pre-litigation evidence. You're trying to draw stuff out from them, which she was gracious to give you a ton of information.
Mm-hmm.
And then you build your first letter, which is in support with an affidavit.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we just went through. And now this is the second letter, opportunity to cure.
Right, because and we went to her, and so we asked her, you know, so we put in our objection. We laid all this out there that she didn't have an affidavit. She's making all these statements. It's not a certified copy. We gave her 5 days. She didn't respond, because it went out October 31st. She didn't respond in 5 days, which would have been the November 5th or 6th. So that went out on the 7th. Okay. And then it's going to be a certificate of non-response if she doesn't respond. And you got to realize now with this lieutenant right here, they made the claim. So I know fully, one of the things you're going to see here we'll also show you, I did public records requests, because in my public records request, now I asked for everybody in internal affairs. I want all the sergeants, the lieutenant, the captain, the commander, because now I got her in line, and that's kind of unbecoming of a police officer. They said that I got this citation in their own paperwork, that I got the citation based on being a registered owner, or the registered owner identified me as the party. Now they don't got neither one. So now,
they admitted to not having neither one.
They admitted it.
Yeah,
they admitted it. So now we're gonna see how
the entire basis of the ticket is void based on that alone.
There you go.
If it wasn't, it will be after this, because she just destroyed it by lying on it. You know, by committing misconduct. No, and the language for the misconduct comes from their policy manuals, what the employees can be disciplined for, and each one, you know, like there's a complaint you can make for rude and discourteous service. You know, like it's already out there, and what they're allowed to do and what they're not. So you just obviously match it up to whatever you're going through, but you need to make a record of it, and that's what this is. Like this really, to me, is to draw out those who operate in good faith or act in good faith, and those who don't. You know, you're gonna have bullies, and you're gonna have, you know, those that genuinely don't know and try to correct it. But either way, this is to draw it out. So now she's basically went silent after being accused or shown belief of misconduct through misrepresentation, which is another way of saying lying. And she's went quiet. So what do you do now? Right. So they can continue, of course, but you have other options now with that evidence, because you're making your statements on the penalty of perjury. So your next step may be, if it's extortion, you can do a criminal complaint and file it with the district attorney or the state attorney general, because they're enforcing state law when it comes to the vehicle code, and you know what I mean. So that's how you would.
Right.
That's how you get it straight. So I wouldn't call it pre-litigation. It's just resolution. Like I said before, the court is a place of last resort if you can't get things resolved. So that's the whole purpose of asking questions. All right, I'll pay if I'm required to, if I have an obligation, but I don't know what's going on yet. And then legitimate questions. You know what I mean? So you don't ask a bunch of bozo questions. You ask what's right there in front of you. It's right there in front of that everything that's there. You just reverse engineer it. And then once you start doing that, then you'll start seeing exactly what they have and what they don't. So you got two lies right there already. And now it's just quiet. So what are you supposed to think?
Right.
Yep. And then so then what I'll do is I'll take you guys just through a few more extra parts, because like we haven't got no response back from the lieutenant yet. She's went silent. And then, okay, so what I did also, I had called the clerk. Okay, there was a clerk over there. And if you go down to page 73, Kelby. Okay, so I even did this. I went to the clerk one day and I called her on October 30th and I asked her if, I says, hey, I'm not the registered owner, but you guys issued me a citation. Do you guys have an affidavit on file? And she said, yes, we do have an affidavit on file. And so what I did, I went to her and she said, yes, we do, but contact our lieutenant and to get a copy of it. So I created a notice for her stating, pretty much a memorialization of the conversation. And if you go right to page 75, actually, Kelby, and it says a record of the telephone conversation on October 30th, 2023, and the supporting declaration of Rodney Roseanne. So right when you go down there, you can see that I created a record of what she said, because she stated and represented to me that they had an affidavit from the registered owner as well. Then
I'm sorry, Rodney, bump into you, but that's the other part of this too, right? When they go silent, they don't want to respond. So all you have to do is do a memorandum of the discussion, and then get an opportunity to deny it or dispute it. These are basically like all the estoppel letters, right? But they detailed. So you give them opportunity to respond even when they go silent. Like this one. Okay, you said you had this, but it turns out that you don't. Do you care to explain yourself? Or you just get off the phone with them? This is to memorialize our conversation in which the following was stated. If you disagree or dispute any of the facts as I stated them, then send a counter declaration of those facts the way you remember it, and we'll go from there. Otherwise I can rely on it. Like estoppel requires reliance, the other person having full factual knowledge of what's going on, and their failure to do or their failure to not do whatever it is that was a situation, and then your reliance on that failure. And by estoppel, which is an equitable issue, they should theoretically be prevented from changing their course of action under the doctrine of estoppel. Failure to do it can be considered lack deprivation of equal protection under the law, bias, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So another thing I want to draw back while remembering, the lieutenant said that if you want to talk to the analyst that issued the citation, here's his number. Where's an analyst get the authority to issue citations? You see what I mean? So those are the things you want to exploit, because they're telling you what's going on, and this is how you would do it. So even if you make a call and you don't get have your communication in writing, you can reduce it to writing with this memorandum, and then you do a supporting declaration, and then let them have the opportunity to dispute it. You know, the one of the misconceptions about silence by acquiescence is that unless there's an actual contract, not one that's presumed or hypothetical, then nobody has a duty to do anything. So you don't. It's not silence by acquiescence. You have a relationship and then a duty to speak, but you can create it by giving your own notices and your declarations. You see what I mean? So it's not really silence by acquiescence unless they have a duty to speak, and you got to create that duty.
All right. And then so what I'll do is I'll show you just a little bit more that we did at the so far. Let's go down to page 79.
This is going to end up becoming a two-part anyway, so we can button it up at any time. But
we probably do that now because we're not done with it, so it's going to be a little series.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right. Okay. So then on page 79. Okay, so what I did a total of 4 public records requests to Culver City to get certain information. The first one that I did right here was one. I wanted the full names and contact emails of all employees who work in the Culver City Department Automated Traffic Enforcement section. I wanted the name and contact email of the commanding officer overseeing the automated traffic section. And I wanted an organizational chart for the Culver City Police Department. So,
Rodney, you're going to get a ton of emails now, brother.
so I did this, and guess what? And you know, guys. So if you go back down to the next page, Kelby, you got everything. See, that's how I got everything. So you get all lieutenant. I got their contact information. So boom. So
do we want to put this? Do we want to put this out there?
I did public information.
Okay.
So here's the other killer part, right? Going back to certification. So she says this was certified. All right. So to find that out, Rodney did a public records request for their policy on the procedure of certifying public records.
Oh, we got it right here. Let me show you. So that's, hey, hold on, Angela. That's right. That's plain up there.
All right, guys, got a little bit of a malfunction yesterday, and I'm again with Angelo and Rodney. We're going to finish up in the next probably 15, 20 minutes the information on this traffic light ticket. So I'm going to welcome the two gentlemen back. And Rodney, you got the floor, brother.
All right, perfect. So right here on page 86, Kelby, I don't see it. Okay, if you can pull it up. Okay. So one of the other things that we did right here too, as far as for the public records request, when Lieutenant Robertson from the Culver City Police Department stated that they accept this as a certified document, and no, we're not going to accept it as a certified document. So the backdoor way also is to do a public records request. So I did a public records request, and I asked for the procedure for certification of records held in the custody or control of Culver City and the Culver City PD as well. And that one hasn't been responded to yet as of today. So we're right up about the 10-day mark today, and they haven't responded on that one. So once we're going to see what happens with that, and it's going to pretty much prove up that she didn't provide a certified copy. So, Angela, you got anything else to add with that?
Just want to just remind, remind you, Kelby, like how, to me, the main thing is just, it's the first, we want accountability, right? So whatever document is first received, instead of getting into the merits of it or what it's about, as most people do, because we're ready to defend ourselves and speak what's right. We're forgetting that we got to kill all the presumptions. And the first thing to do to kill that presumption is to figure out who we're dealing with, so we'll know what presumptions to kill and what presumptions they have. But with accountability, the person that we're asking for, or who's the author of these documents or whatever, once we do that, then we have somebody to bring liability against if it's determined that whatever they're doing or requesting or demanding wasn't authorized. Because then it's it's a removal of any type of claim of immunity, because you're supposed to check that. You don't just make wild claims because you have immunity. You gotta have good cause to do so. So one of the things we decided to do, since she was basically saying this is certification, take it or leave it, but this is what it is. Okay, well, now we need to see what your policy says then. What does your policy say about the procedures for making a certification? Right. And then in this particular, we were talking earlier, why not even ask for a sample copy of it? What's it look like? You know what I mean? What does it look like? So give me that. Now, when that comes up and when it shows up, you have that to show that the lieutenant is acting in bad faith. Yeah. And there's a saying, an error uncovered is 2/3 destroyed, and the remaining error is destroyed from the house from within. So the first lie, the first mess up, the first error, that's the one usually is on the way to lose, because especially when it's on misrepresentation. Because how do you justify everything else that comes after that if you can't justify the initial contact? You see what I'm saying? So public records is very effective to get that information, because they have to definitely follow those rules. And most of what they do is public record, because they have to account for the work that's being done. That's how they get paid.
Quick question. Public records, is that scope to a personal jurisdiction like a state, or is that national?
That's state. Each state has their own Public Records Act.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that would apply anywhere. Federal jurisdiction is under federal laws. So that's when you will use the FOIA. Some states have Freedom of Information Law. Some call it Freedom of Information Act. And this is also key too. Yes, there are federal states, and yes, most of this is written out for federal laws, but they're placed into state jurisdiction for their own administration or participation, so to speak. So use the state law for state issues and use federal law for federal issues, because even under stare decisis, even the U.S. Supreme Court has to follow state law if it's dealing with a state issue, and vice versa. So if you know what I'm saying? So if you have this, if a state is dealing with a federal issue, then they're bound by the U.S. Supreme Court. If the U.S. Supreme Court is entertaining a state issue, they're bound by the state's high court or Supreme Court. And that's the way it is, because each state is its own country. They're all independent on certain matters, except for everything except what was delegated to the federal government. So that's why, you want to know what you're dealing with. And a lot of times too, no matter what's going on, if you don't understand, ask the question. Don't presume anything. And they have to tell you, because if they can't answer it, then how they expect you to respond? You know what I mean? That's my my way of dealing with a lot of this stuff.
No, I love it.
So, pretty much, Kelby, like what we're waiting on right now is, so now I also, did a public records request on internal affairs, and I wanted to get so I got this morning, actually, it's a couple of sergeants over there and a lieutenant, and I got their email contact information. So now I'm just waiting for, I want to see what their certified copies, I want to see what what their response to this public records request is. We'll take that together, all the representations made by the lieutenant. We take that entire record together, take that and then present it to internal affairs.
And that becomes your evidence.
There you go. And I like to do it in written format. I'm not going to go up there so they can say anything happened. It's easier just to put this all in writing. And because it's going to be really interesting. I anticipate that they may defend the officer and find it unfounded, but it's going to be really interesting. It's one of those, we investigated ourselves and found nothing wrong.
And that makes it difficult to do. I'm not saying they're not going to do it, but if they do, then they open themselves up for liability, because now they're aiding and abetting misconduct. You see what I'm saying? So that's the other reason that you do it. It's designed to expose who you're dealing with. and what's going on. Is this a shakedown or is this a legitimate claim? You know, so that's the best way to do is just reverse engineer it, ask the questions. And all this time, we haven't made one position. You haven't took one position, right? So if you asking questions, somebody can say, "Oh, you're a paper terrorist," or you're making all these wild claims, or you one of those people. Any of that. It's just I'm asking questions. Whatever they put on it is what they put on it. And you can classify, because gaslighting is a form of mental abuse, right? So that falls into intentional infliction of emotional distress, right? That falls under that claim or that wrong. They call you a sovereign citizen just for asking questions. I haven't had it yet, but I know my response will be to file defamation of character on that person and deal with this once and for all, because it's not even defined as to what that is.
They don't even have that defined, right? And honestly, Rodney, Angelo, and with complete respect to law enforcement and complete respect to we'd be in chaos without them, it seems to me like, especially in something like this, the real paper terrorists are being a little bit of a projectionist at this point. You know what I'm saying? It's they truly are pushing paper for fines on people. Using systems that to me don't seem very lawful or in order. And I loved what you said yesterday with we'll take it up with the judge. That's where it always goes. And unfortunately, but go ahead, Rodney.
And another point that we'll bring on this too, without and they can't even present a certified copy. So the next thing that we have as well is we're going to add a charge for an allegation with internal affairs for extortion as well. Because what are you guys trying to take my money for without no legal authority? Are you trying to force it basically? You're basically forcing money from me, $500, and they have no certified documents to show anything. So we're going to shift that burden to prove now we got extortion. So this is going to be pretty interesting. I'm interested to see where it goes.
And you're really the first probably guys that have done this angle before.
No, it's a couple more out there. It's a couple more out there. Very few people are actually reading what's going on or understand the organization, the structure of it. And so, everybody's looking for some type of solution or response to the abuses that we receive or experience. So most people are following what sounds credible. You know what I mean? Oh, that's right. But they're still repeating what somebody else told them instead of going to go read it themselves and understand it. Like, you got people that don't really understand how case law plays a part, how to read it. Like what I was saying about FOIA and the public records request. Like, there's distinct lines of demarcation between these agencies. And if you understand that, you can keep everybody in their box and ask the right questions and then get to a resolution. So like with the officer saying, take it up with the court. You have a responsibility to answer this question. So, okay, well, instead of taking it up with the court, now I'm going to do a public records request. Somebody's going to have to answer. Somebody is going to have to answer. And then that's where the rubber meets the road when we get to that point. Because if they start getting into like this, lying and denying and threatening, that's a problem for them, not me. Right? Everything we're under the civil law system, right? Well, I was saying before, like, these are all systems. So you have to see what system that you're functioning in and then find out what the rules are and then respond accordingly. And the first thing would be how do you ask questions and how do you receive proof of claims? That's evidence. In the administrative realm, that's the public records request. And they're supposed to certify it if you request it. The public records statutes and rules are all requester friendly. That means the burden of proof is on the agencies if they deny it. And if they don't deny it, then you can take them and can't show an exemption. Then you're able to go into court, and that's the remedy for that. That's what the written remedy is. You have to go to court, suing for it, and then if it's found that they're not legitimately exempt, they have to turn over the records and pay for your court costs. So you just out of a little time, but you have a remedy. You know, I know everybody's trying to stay out of court and stay out of jurisdiction, but that's the only way you're really going to get remedy is dealing in their realm. It doesn't mean that you're subject to. It's getting the information that you need to show whether or not, you know, the claim is correct or not. You know what I mean? So, because you can still appear specially, you know, it doesn't mean you're making a general appearance, but does any of that matter? You know, like what I learned with motions to dismiss, your or demurs in California, you're automatically considered to be entering general jurisdiction of the court just by making the demur. But what's the function of it? To challenge the legal sufficiency of the complaint or the claim. So it's like saying, okay, yeah, you said that, and this may be true, but so what? You don't have a legal claim. So does it matter whether you're in the jurisdiction or not? If they can't move further? I don't think so. You see what I mean? So we got to get out of this fear of using the system to help us out, as opposed to looking at all of these wild theories and stuff that nobody that they don't have to recognize or respect.
And you know, one thing that I would take that I could see even in this situation where I moved a little bit too fast, and it was definitely on the certification of the record. And I got into talking a little bit about the marriage too fast. And we were, you know, we cleaned it up a little bit here at the end, but I should have held my stake in the ground right there. And then also the only request when they sent this notice in the mail, that it should have just went back directly to that first address. And I shouldn't be talking to nobody else.
Return to sender.
And so that's where I can see, and you got to kind of slow down. And I've seen, Kelby, I'm handling a lot of different cases. I got, you know, issues in the family with trust, you know, where a family member passed and people are not dealing with the trust correctly. And one thing that I can always see with all of these various issues that I'm dealing with is don't even worry about what the other side is reacting. We're only here. It's nothing about emotions. It's just like making a record, really monotone. And I even learned that all my battles with the judge, I notice when my emotions get high or they get low, I got attacked when I went before the board in the city. And when I did that, I noticed when I went, I was a little bit, you could see a little bit of emotion per se. And then when one of my partners went, no emotion. And then that was just different things people pick on. So just get down there, get the record done. And then what I'm also often seeing is you're like, the other side's not responding. Why aren't they responding? Well, that's really, then you know, they're oftentimes leaving the battlefield per se. So when they're leaving the battlefield and then now they're defaulting, then now you really know you have them. So I've seen that we're going to, you know, within time, when we show you all the various documents, you're going to see that over and over again, the other side leaves.
That's a commonality. Yeah.
That's a commonality, especially with the city. Once you got them, they're going to be silent. So that's one of the reasons the lieutenant, once we hit her with the objection, now it's been, you know, over 10 days now, she hasn't responded. And now they've answered all my public records requests except this last one. I put in 4 total, and the one with certification of the records, we haven't gotten a response on that.
I think everybody's going to be looking for the remedy, because there's a lot of times I get people to leave the field and then I'm like, hey, who am I playing with now? You know, and I don't know the next steps. And like you were saying, that you're going to go to IA and file complaints against the individual now that you know who the party is that's, you know, made a record and falsified information. So what does that look like? Is that a letter with another affidavit regarding more updated to AI, and then they're going to come back and do what? You know, take the defense of the officer. Now you got the next guy. You know, and you keep going through the list of people willing to commit, you know, felonies, and where does it all end up? It all ends up where at the city council. Are we going after bar cards? Are we going after bonds? Are we suing? You know, it's like nobody really has the end all solution from what I'm hearing, except with what you guys are bringing forward. So I'm looking forward to seeing how, you know, this is going to play out and what's going to ultimately end up happening. I mean, can you believe if this thing gets dismissed? I mean, wow, that'll be cool. But this is a lot of work, guys.
It is, but you know, they make it easy for you to pay. but difficult for you to not pay. So, you know, you have to go in understanding that, you know, it's not going to be, you know, you show them a law and whoever, and they're going to go, oh, you got us. It's over. You let this go. You got to really just embarrass them into letting it go. And the remedy is really, you know, it's up to that person. What are they looking to get out of it? You know what I mean? Like, you know, at times when I'll help some people with their foreclosure or property or something like that, you know, and they want to, they're going, I want 100,000, you know, $1 million, and you know,
free and clear house.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So how about they just leave you alone? How about that? That's what I
right.
Leave me alone, and then the rest of it'll take care of itself.
So you know, shoot them in the butt on the way out, you know.
Yeah, you know. So and I get it. You know, people want to make their pain felt. You know, but again, you got to look at this reasonably and without emotion. You know, the law has no emotion. Or it was this guy that I used to talk with, and one of his favorite things to say was the only place for emotion is the bedroom and the bathroom. You know, and that's that.
Yeah, he's right though. It's not when you're making a record.
Yeah, you just making a record. You know, if you look at it like I'm trying to figure out what's going on, what's really going on. If you take it like that, you know, from that angle, then to me it's easier for you to gather the information that you need. You know what I mean? But
and the tools that you guys, I mean, people don't realize, and this is a whole nother level, because the tools, like taking an affidavit or a generalized template, dumping it into openai.com, putting in particulars for that particular affidavit, reading it into using Cortana, using, you know, whatever speech converter, reading in the particulars into OpenAI and say, use this template and make me an affidavit. It can happen in 5 minutes.
That's next level, right? It's less than 5 minutes. The AI levels the playing.
That's what I'm trying to say. So this what used to be 24 hours of work on one ticket now became less than an hour when you think about it.
Yeah.
And that makes it worth it, you know, because nothing is on your record. You beat them. You now know they're going to flag that plate. You're never going to get another ticket again. You know?
Right. But you know, if you do it good enough.
I do want to say, Rodney, that guy in that picture.
Man, I can't tell who it is, man.
I can't, you know. This is strikingly familiar, but I'm not sure.
Kind of grainy. I can't tell.
It's very grainy. it's very grainy. Anything else, guys, you want to add up on this until we bring the next response from them?
Nah, that's it for now.
All right.
Rodney asked me about something, Rodney.
Well, like the only thing, and Kelly, what you mentioned on AI, and I've been in this game. I got into it at 2010, and we had a lot of people looking at doing this, right? And the hardest part is always paper. Like, you know, everything, nobody know how to write. We're not taught how to write. When we get into law enforcement, that was the hardest thing. Everybody want to run to the battle, but when time to write paper, I'm out of here. Nobody want to write.
I'm out of here. I'm done.
So yeah, everybody was lights and siren, but write the paper. The guys beat up all this. Nobody wants
man, I'm tired. I'm going home.
Yeah. So, but what this did, and even what I saw with the AI, because we could run all reports, and in this game, it's the same thing. So if I come to the average person and say, write a public records request and get that sheriff's body camera, that's hard for him to do. But now if he's just taught the prompt, hey, AI, I'm in California, write me a public records request for the Los Angeles County Sheriff to get deputies a camera, and then put it in the right format for it. And it's going to give you you everything. Every single thing that you need, and now you have it in the proper format. So that's what I see, and the AI I got here in about March when I got into it, and I've probably done 1,000 notices. I don't think anybody's done more than me in notices. It's impossible.
I bet.
And so that's what I saw was the effect, and I was able to keep up, and I was even faster than the city. So they only have one attorney on it too as well, but they're really fast. They have, maybe an attorney and a clerk, but then we could hit them so fast and hit them with notices of non-response. We'd have the certificate of non-response already done. They're already defaulted out, and maybe 10 days later, then they're responding to the first notice. Like, hey, we couldn't get to you in time. So that with AI here now, it's
a game changer.
It's a game changer.
It levels the playing field,
bro.
Exponentially. You know?
Yeah, they're saying it's going to take away 300 million jobs this next 2 years.
It's always been technology to take away jobs. You have to adapt. You know what I mean? You adapt and move on, because there's going to be another opportunity opening up.
And it's going to be the people that are utilizing it, Angelo, just like you guys are there, that are going to win and be on top of the game, above their competition. I always try to keep AI open or open AI, or I'm learning about different AI technologies and features where people are writing, widgets or whatever for AI specific to law.
Yeah.
I'm getting a program on that. I'm going to talk to you guys about it after or later, but where you can take an entire pleading or a motion and dump it in and say, make a formal response based on boom, 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 boom. And it does the entire thing for you instant.
I'm trying to get mine set up. I had one error in putting it on my hard drive, and I got to get that figured out. But I have all of the statutes at large, United States statutes at large, from the beginning to, I think it goes up to 2008 or something. Can you imagine combing through that, finding out the little secrets and stuff, and the well hidden information? Man, it's nothing like it, man. So you definitely have to use this technology. I've been waiting on AI for a while, probably about as long as I was waiting when the internet first came out. Like, from being in the military, I knew, what the database is doing, what you can pull if you have the right prompts. We didn't call it prompts, but that's what it was. So, these tools that are available, it'll definitely aid the vigilant, because it's here, it's definitely here. So take advantage of it.
Yep. Awesome sauce. All right, guys, listen, I really appreciate you coming on. Anytime that you have an update or whatever, let's talk about it. We are going to be bringing on the strategies of foreclosure in the next couple of weeks here, and you're going to be invited to a service in which these guys will be available to you to get questions answered directly on what to do in your own specific circumstances specific to foreclosure. I know everybody out there is going to sneak in a whole ton of other stuff, and that might be available to some degree, but we really want to help people in this onslaught of losing their houses and what they need to be considering for themselves and how to hang on and stay in. But that's it, gentlemen. I appreciate your time, and I'll see you very soon.
Thanks,
Thank you.
You got it, man.